You think you know the story of RoboCop 2, but this 90s action masterpiece runs much deeper than just a cyborg catching criminals. Did you know there was an early script featuring a bizarre Elvis Presley-worshipping cult, or that RoboCain's mind may have been copied into machines, trapping his consciousness forever? Most fans also don't realize the drug in the film was inspired by real chemicals. Today we're uncovering 15 hidden truths about RoboCop 2, 1990. And tucked inside it, there's a hidden Easter egg that reveals a secret connection to the Terminator franchise. Number 1. The failed Robo experiments. There is a scene in this movie that traumatized the kids, when OCP tries to build RoboCop 2 using other dead officers, and all the results go horribly wrong. One prototype even rips off its own helmet, revealing a screaming, blood-soaked skull. So why didn't Murphy end up the same way? Writer Edward Neumeier explained that Murphy's Irish Catholic beliefs played a key role, since suicide is considered a mortal sin. Even through unbearable pain, his subconscious refuses to give up, choosing to endure life as a machine rather than face damnation. Another explanation is known as the childlike brain theory. When Clarence Boddicker shoots Murphy in the head in the first film, the damage resets his brain into a more childlike state with extreme neural plasticity. This makes the brain adapt more easily to the machine wiring and cybernetic systems. The other officers, whose adult brains remained intact, rejected the integration almost instantly, and the realization of what they had become drove them insane. Number 2. The ending where justice won. In the theatrical ending we know, OCP's CEO, the Old Man, escapes legal consequences by pinning the entire Cain disaster on Dr. Fax. But in one of Frank Miller's earlier drafts, the story closed on a much more satisfying note. After defeating Cain, Murphy manages to recover secret data, proving that the Old Man personally approved the acquisition and distribution of Nuke for the illegal experiments. Instead of walking free, he is arrested or forced into a humiliating resignation, giving Murphy a rare moral victory over the corporation that owns him. The final twist goes even further. With OCP exposed, RoboCop separates himself completely and begins operating from a hidden shed outside Detroit, repairing his own body with crude tools. Cut off from corporate control, he is no longer company property but a lone Ronin choosing his own path. Number 3. America's sharpest satire in disguise. Just like the first RoboCop, which was packed with biting satire, RoboCop 2 is just as brutal with its social commentary. The first jab targets extreme capitalism through a TV ad, Sunblock 5000. In RoboCop's future, the ozone layer is completely destroyed, turning the sun into a deadly threat that can burn skin in seconds. Yet instead of addressing environmental collapse, corporations simply sell colorful creams that make humans look like aliens. It's a sharp satire of how the beauty industry would still chase profit even in the middle of an ecological apocalypse. The second jab hits the weakness of the legal system. A TV ad introduces the Magnavolt car security system, which kills thieves instantly by electrocuting anyone who tries to steal the vehicle. It reflects late 80s to early 90s America, when rising crime and paranoia made property seem more valuable than human life. Another commercial even says, "Help save the Motor City," directly referencing real-life Detroit, famously nicknamed the Motor City. At the time, the city was in a severe crisis, as many auto factories had shut down or moved overseas, causing unemployment to surge. Number 4. The 25 Years Jump sequel. Besides Frank Miller's scripts, the original creators of RoboCop, Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, had an even more insane first draft, titled The Corporate Wars. The story jumped 25 years after the first RoboCop. In this version, the United States government had completely collapsed. There was no longer any federal authority, only cities owned and fully operated by massive corporations called plexes, which were constantly at war with one another. After many years, RoboCop was left in storage or used only for trivial duties as OCP moved on to more advanced technology until he was eventually rediscovered and reactivated to serve as a pawn in intercity corporate wars. The script also revealed that Bixby Snyder, the crude comedian famous for shouting "I'd buy that for $1" in the first film, had actually been elected president of the United States. The writers imagined a future where public apathy turned politics into vulgar entertainment, a concept many fans now see as eerily prophetic. Number 5. The rarest gun in RoboCop's arsenal. In the first RoboCop, Murphy's most iconic weapon was the massive Cobra assault cannon. But in RoboCop 2, he upgrades to something just as memorable, the Pauza P50. Unlike the bulky industrial look of the Cobra cannon, it's a real .50 caliber semi-automatic sniper rifle that has sleeker curves, a slimmer profile, and a more futuristic silhouette. And here's the wild part. The Pauza P50 was a commercial failure in real life. The company that made the arsenal, Pauza Specialties, only produced around 30 to 50 units before the company went bankrupt. By putting such an ultra-rare firearm in RoboCop's hands, the filmmakers accidentally made it feel like a secret prototype weapon almost no one in the world had ever seen. Number 6. The monster OCP created. The battle between Murphy and RoboCain ends in Murphy ripping Cain's human brain out of the robot chassis. But if you look closely at the monitor screens during the scene, Cain is still screaming even after his brain is disconnected. That detail implies something far more terrifying. His consciousness had already been uploaded into the machine's RAM, meaning even without his physical brain, a digital copy of his mind was still alive. Frank Miller's version pushes the concept further. OCP didn't just transplant Cain's brain, they fully mapped his memories, creating a backup of his consciousness on their servers. If one RoboCain unit was destroyed, they could simply upload his rage-driven mind into a new chassis. Cain was no longer an individual, he had become weaponized software, a soul trapped in an endless cycle of death and reboot. Number 7. The drug that erased free will. The red drug Nuke flooding the streets in RoboCop 2 isn't just a random sci-fi invention. In the film, its main ingredient is said to be scopolamine, a real substance often nicknamed devil's breath. In reality, the drug has a reputation for its ability to suppress free will, leaving victims highly suggestible and obedient under certain doses. The film's sound design reinforces this idea in a subtle but creepy way. That mechanical hiss you hear whenever users inject Nuke into their necks. It was designed to sound like industrial machinery. The message is symbolic. Nuke addicts aren't treated as people anymore, but as flesh components inside Cain's larger machine. Speaking of that drug lab scene, there is a hidden nod to another cult classic. Cain yells out, "Frank, the blue velvet," when asking for a new batch of drugs. This is a direct homage to David Lynch's movie Blue Velvet, where the villain Frank Booth inhales gas to get high. The filmmakers try to create a link between two of cinema's most unhinged villains, Cain and David Lynch's Frank Booth. Number 8. The Terminator connection. Fans have long suspected that RoboCop and the Terminator were somehow linked, and the evidence is surprisingly solid. Both films were distributed by the same studio, Orion Pictures. The connection became even stranger in the first RoboCop trailer. Basil Polidorus, the composer of the iconic RoboCop theme, hadn't finished the score yet, so the studio rushed the trailer using Brad Fiedel Terminator theme music instead. The crossover eventually became official when Frank Miller wrote the comic series RoboCop vs. the Terminator. The comic was such a massive hit that it was adapted into the legendary 1993 video game by Virgin Games and Super Nintendo. For the first time, players could answer the ultimate playground question, who is the stronger machine? It cemented the link between Murphy and the T-800 in pop culture history forever. Number 9. The directive that roasted the studio. Behind the scenes, the production team had a rocky relationship with the studio, which kept interfering with creative decisions. Instead of arguing publicly, the filmmakers hid a permanent insult right inside the movie. During the scene where RoboCop is being reprogrammed with hundreds of new directives, one line of text reads, Directive 262, avoid Orion meetings. And the satire does not stop there. The studio also pushed for a storyline that made RoboCop more child-friendly, so toy sales would perform better. The filmmakers hated this idea, so they mocked it by loading him with absurd, useless rules. Directive 247 orders him not to run through puddles and splash pedestrians. Directive 250 forbids him from swinging his arms on a ballroom floor. In other words, filmmakers sometimes use creative satire as a way to vent their frustration toward studio interference. Number 10. The first digital face. Many fans assumed the face on the robot's monitor was just actor Tom Noonan's footage with a video filter slapped on. In reality, it was a fully digital 3D model driven in real time, making it one of the earliest uses of motion capture in a Hollywood feature film. This technology breakthrough also became an early signal of the CGI revolution that would soon explode with Jurassic Park. The shift was so dramatic that stop-motion legend Phil Tippett reportedly fell into a deep depression after realizing the craft he had mastered was being replaced by computers. Number 11. The Elvis cult cameo. One of the strangest and most talked-about moments in RoboCop 2 is the brief Elvis corpse scene, which feels bizarre and oddly unsettling, but it was originally meant to be much bigger. In the early script, there was an entire subplot about a new religious cult that worshipped Elvis Presley as a messiah. There are even visual clues that support this idea. In front of Elvis's body, you can spot a crystal monument or glass statue that serves as a religious symbol for Cain's group. Even one of Cain's gang members, Katzo, is tied to this cut storyline. With his oversized pompadour hair and rockabilly look, he was designed as a devoted follower of the Elvis cult, which explains why he resembles the king of rock and roll so closely. Number 12. The cult leader who stayed in character. Cain stands as one of the most terrifying villains of the 90s, and much of that fear comes from actor Tom Noonan. Before playing the cult leader in RoboCop 2, Noonan had already built a chilling reputation in Manhunter 1986, where he portrayed Francis Dolarhyde, a deeply disturbed serial killer from the Hannibal Lecter universe. That experience portraying psychologically complex psychopaths made him a perfect fit for Cain. Standing at 6 feet 6 inches tall, Noonan's towering presence alone created natural intimidation on set, often putting real pressure on the actors playing police officers. But he took it even further. To maintain Cain's cold, untouchable cult leader aura, Noonan refused to speak or socialize with Peter Weller or the other cops off camera. He ensured that whenever the cameras rolled, the awkwardness and tension were real. Number 13. Corporate logo with a dark secret. In the RoboCop universe, OCP is not just another greedy mega-corporation chasing profit. They are written as a metaphor for the rise of corporate fascism. If you look closely at the OCP logo, especially when it appears on massive red banners with a white circle and black insignia, the visual design is not accidental. It deliberately mirrors Nazi Party flag imagery. Director Irvin Kershner used it as a visual shorthand. He did not need dialogue to spell out that OCP was evil. The authoritarian imagery alone creates an immediate subconscious sense of threat for the audience. Number 14. The grave that proved he was still human. You might have come across rare behind-the-scenes footage online showing RoboCop visiting a grave, a scene that never appeared in the theatrical version. Murphy goes there to convince himself that Alex Murphy is truly gone. But the moment falls apart when you think about it. A machine would never feel the need to visit its own grave. The act itself proves he still cares, still grieves, still remembers. There is further proof through his encounter with Hobb. When Murphy sees the boy, he is reminded of his own son, Jimmy, showing that fragments of his past are still alive inside him. Even near the ending, Alex tells Lewis, "Patience, Lewis, we're only human," a powerful line that reinforces the truth. No matter how hard OCP tried to reprogram him and erase his humanity, Murphy's soul always proved stronger than the machine. Number 15. The psychologist who created a monster. Dr. Juliet Fax was the mastermind behind the creation of the terrifying RoboCain. In Frank Miller's original draft, her character was originally named Dr. Margaret Love and portrayed as far more sadistic. She psychologically manipulated Murphy, even forcing him to watch footage of his own death repeatedly to break whatever humanity he had left. The comics pushed her cruelty even further. Dr. Love oversaw OCP experiments using live human subjects, often homeless people or prisoners, many of whom died or were discarded after their brains were destroyed by the procedures. What makes this even more fascinating is the actress behind the role, Belinda Bauer, transitioned into a real professional psychology therapist in Los Angeles. It is both eerie and ironic that the woman who played OCP's manipulative corporate psychologist now dedicates her life to helping people heal their minds. From Elvis-worshipping cults and Terminator connections to the eerie childlike brain theory, it's clear RoboCop 2 is far deeper than most people remember. We've seen how Murphy's humanity, his soul, kept fighting back, even as OCP tried to turn him into nothing more than corporate software. And it leaves us with one chilling thought. As corporations and technology grow more powerful, was this just a 90s action movie or a preview of what's coming? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering these 15 secrets, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hidden cinema history.